Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. You know that they can eliminate bugs from your property. Been doing that since 1971. But this local company also traps and removes wildlife. They relocate birds. They can catch bats. They can prevent snakes. They can do everything. Rats, skunks, raccoons, you name it. They can get rid of them. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Their wildlife division is something new, and they're doing great work with it. If you've got that kind of a need, give them a call. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All right, two topics in this segment. Saved a little time for this. The first one, this week Phillip Fulmer told John Wilkerson and Will West that he will not interfere with Jeremy Pruitt or the current coaches. He then immediately said, now, if I see some guys that don't have their hands up, I'll be in there telling them to get their hands up. So, and he has been at most of the practices so far. My question is, and it's because this relationship is so key, what do you think Jeremy Pruitt views as interfering? And will it be the same in year 3 that it is in year 1?
Or year 2?
As someone who worked, I once worked for, back when I was doing the marketing director thing for television, I worked for a general manager who had been a marketing director. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great because this person's been in my shoes, is going to be an ally. And instead it was, you know, John, when I was in Louisville, here's what I did. That got old after about week 3. I just wonder, would Jeremy Pruitt have a problem, do you think, with Phillip Fulmer being a little hands-on with anything he sees as wrong?
Walking through practice and seeing something and pointing it out, I don't think that's really interference. To me, interference is he calls Jeremy Pruitt in his office and sits down and says, okay, here's what I want you to see. This is what I want to see out there on the practice field. So I think by year 3, if he is interfering, then Jeremy Pruitt is on a very short leash and probably not long for this world. That would be my thing. So I don't think walking through practice is interfering. I think it's when you're calling the coach in for meetings and telling him what to do.
I would agree with that, yeah. I mean, and Jeremy Pruitt is a headstrong guy who's not going to take it very well probably if that happens. So I think if it gets to that point, it's probably a bad sign anyway. I don't think it's happening too much yet, but like you said, if it's something that you see in year 2, year 3, it's going to be a concern.
I think it's going to be really interesting because depending on who you listen to, Jeremy Pruitt didn't even listen to his head coach when he was coaching at Georgia.
Right.
So I think it kind of depends on what it is. I'm kind of in Bob's boat too. I don't think that Pruitt wants to be called in the office and say, now the hand position of those offensive tackles, that needs to be done this. What he ought to do, and we'll see if he does this, is play the role of what Doug Dickey did to Phillip Fulmer, and that is, Dickey left the door open. Phillip Fulmer, if you want to come in and talk about it, fine, I'm here to talk about it. But otherwise, it's your program. I'll be curious to see if that's the way it plays.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, the more the way it needs to be. I mean, have a notebook and take some notes, and we can sit down and talk and do some things. And if I'm Jeremy Pruitt, I'm wanting Coach Fulmer to handle as much as the media responsibilities, as much of those other things as he wants.
Get it off my plate.
Exactly, exactly. Because Jeremy Pruitt's going to say, I'm here to coach football, and I believe I can do that based on where I've been. But I can see it getting a little strained depending on how things go.
Well, and the thing is, we only have one modern example to go by. In the current college game, it's just Barry Alvarez that was a former coach. And Barry Alvarez keeps running through coaches. Guys keep leaving Wisconsin, even though they're successful. They leave to get out of there. I think this isn't a dig at Fulmer. I think it'd be very difficult. If I've won a national championship doing something, I might feel like I need to share a little tip with you here or there. Well, it's all about what Pruitt perceives as being interference. And we all may look at it and say, well, that's not interfering to tell a guy to get your hands up. A head coach or a position coach may view that differently. We don't know. To me, this is fascinating to watch.
Here's the thing, too. Would you trade Wisconsin's success for Barry Alvarez's interference if Phillip Fulmer does the same thing?
Wisconsin hadn't won a national championship, and that's all we play for here at Tennessee. Oh, is that right? That's the goal. That's the expectation. All right, now, let me turn this around. Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports, he wrote a story about the up-and-coming coaches at the smaller schools, the non-Power Fives, and he said one of the guys who'd be at the top of the list would be Lane Kiffin if he weren't Lane Kiffin. Well, he asked 15 sitting Power 5 athletic directors to give their anonymous take on Kiffin. Would they consider hiring Lane Kiffin for their job? 2 said yes. 2 said maybe, 11 said no, and according to Thamel, a few of those no votes were accompanied by multiple exclamation points. He got comments back that said, I don't need to invite drama. Too much smoke and drama around him. He'll probably think he's Vince Lombardi if he wins another season. Was he still the same immature Lane? There was a group here in Knoxville that was more than happy to bring him back when the Schiano thing happened last year. Are you surprised that 11 out of 15 polled athletic directors said, I wouldn't touch this guy with a 10-foot pole? Does that surprise you or no?
It surprises me a little bit, but if I had to try to identify a reason, it would be that Nick Saban decided to fire him before the national championship game, and it's like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something is amiss here, regardless of whether Lane Kiffin's grown up or whether their offense scores 50 points or not. I think that might be the persuading factor with some of those ADs.
Yeah, I would have been surprised. I would have thought it would have been about half. You know, I'd have put the total at 7.5 or something like that. But some people can change. Can Lane Kiffin change? I mean,
He's had multiple chances to change.
He's had multiple chances to change. I would look at other candidates first, but I would not rule it out.
He wrote it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, does the question get a different answer in November than it does in August?
Somebody else, one of the athletic directors responded as well, that we're living in a day and age when you can't take the chance on a guy like Lane Kiffin who lives on Twitter and says dumb things.
I would also wonder which exact schools in the Power 5 ranks were these ADs at. If you're at a Clemson, a Alabama, a place like that, right, I absolutely understand. If you're at a Vanderbilt or somewhere like that, I'm taking a chance on a guy.
Yeah, what about Kansas?
These people even pointed out, he wrote an essay this week about how he turned over a new leaf and turned his life over to God, but apparently it's getting snickers, not for that story, but because he titled it, It's Not About Me. And everyone out there knows in the industry that, yes, it's all about you. It's always been all about you. That's your issue. So even the thing he wrote this week trying to win people over, people are looking at it kind of side-eyed thinking, yeah, right. So anyway, interesting take, I thought, on a former Vol coach.
Yeah,
now, Holly Warlick is going to continue to be Lady Vols coach. She got an extension and a raise this week. Phillip Fulmer had some comments about her keeping her job. We'll discuss that, and does it tell us anything about the way that Phillip Fulmer is going to run his department? Come on back on The Sports Source.